I have two ideas. One is for me to talk about Buddha Day, because it's coming up in a little bit over a month. Or the other is open discussion or questions and answers or comments and reactions. So your choice is made by the questions you ask. Anybody have a question or a thought or an opinion? It's May. Well, it is in May. What is the official Sri Lankan? It's the full moon day in May. Yeah, and even different Buddhist countries have a different full moon day. So the Thai full moon is a different day than Sri Lankan full moon, and Burmese full moon is different. So that's the official day. It's the full moon in the month of May. And what we do here is we'll celebrate it. We usually celebrate it around middle of May the 18th. And then other temples that we know in the area, even from other traditions, they'll have their days set differently, and then we all visit each other's temples. And I think that's it's a week-long holiday in Sri Lanka, right? It's a really long holiday. So for us, we do one day and try to squeeze it all into one day. But it's like Christmas and spring break, I think, kind of rolled in Sri Lanka. And you know what Buddha Day is, what it celebrates? Does everybody know? So Buddha Day, or Wesak or Wisaka, is a term for what we will call Buddha Day or Wesak. And it is a holiday. It's a special day. It's what kind of like we'd call a holy day in the West, but it's not a holy day because it's a Buddhist thing. But it celebrates and honors the birth of the Buddha and his enlightenment when he was 36, and also his what we call parinibbana, which is his final enlightenment that happened when he died at 80. 80. So we celebrate all three. And in Asian countries and other Buddhist countries, all the different countries have different celebrations, different customs. And so if you've seen the paper lanterns we have here, and we have the big, usually a big paper, a mobile, a big thing hanging from the ceiling, and it's sometimes lit up and has streamers. When you're in Sri Lanka, when they have things during the holidays, they make these incredible paper lanterns and paper things they hang that are just amazing, just really intricate. But then after the holiday, they just let them hang there and disintegrate with the weather or the rain. So it's a mark of impermanence. And here people want to take it home, and but I think when we first started doing Buddha Days, the monks were very surprised. People were taking the things out of the garbage cans because they were these beautiful things that people wanted to take home and hang up in their house somewhere. And so then they got wise to the Westerners, the American weird habits. They started making some and having some extras to sell to people who wanted to take them home. So, but they would take down that big, huge, multi-layered hanging sculpture, and since they couldn't hang it outside here, they just we'd throw it away. And everybody here was like, no, you can't throw that stuff away. But there you'll see things hanging outside of people's homes or outside of buildings, just like in all different stages of dissolving if it's been raining or falling apart. And so it continues to be for them a mark of impermanence, which I think is pretty wonderful. They don't stay attached to it. And like our gazebo that we have in the winter for the chanting, that comes down the next day. And it would be the same way. You don't save those things, do you? We want to save them. Westerners want to save them, decorate with them. So we want things to stay permanent. We don't like them to be temporary. But so we have the paper lanterns that we carry around in the parade at the end of the inside program. And during the program, we have all of the paper flowers hanging in the decorations. But that's because our holiday is similar to what it would be in Sri Lanka. But we invite for our celebration, and in Buddhist countries, it's a day when you have there's food, or it's a week, but the temples will have food for people, and they like everybody in the community to come and just have food and hospitality, and they don't charge anything for it. They just want people to come and eat, and it's a real happy celebration for all of those things. But at the temples, people might listen to talks, and they kind of spend the day, the full moon day, they usually are at the temples anyway. But that celebration is the major Buddhist celebration in most Buddhist countries. So we have a program inside, and we have some chanting, and we have the Vietnamese temples who come. One of them has dragon dancers, and they have the martial arts that really are one with the big fans. I don't know what that's called, but those giant fans just snap, and they have young people doing that, and they have what is the dance called? Like the flower dances, where the young women come in and do these intricate choreographed numbers, but they all have little baskets of flowers, fresh flowers, and they line the whole area is lined with those baskets of flowers, and we have the dragons come in and do a routine, and the dragons go on the parade too, and so they usually have 2 or 3 dragons, and they'll be at the front of the parade. So the young people who are part of the martial arts at their temples are also the dragon dancers. So they're really, they get better and better every year. We had one year when we didn't get to have them because the one temple had the boys get into it when they're little, and they grow up, and then eventually they get to be in the dragon, and they're doing a lot of the difficult martial arts. But one year, a whole bunch of the young guys graduated, so they didn't have anybody to be in the dragons. They were still training a younger group, but that's always a big hit. And the other temple in Chicago, a Vietnamese temple, the head monk there does the Lotus Sutra, or the Heart Sutra, and chants it, and he has an incredible voice. So we have some short talks, but they're very short talks, and it's kind of festive things, right? Buddha kids may do something. It's like a series of short it's a very, very happy celebration. So it's all about,
Just another question. What's the significance of wearing white? I always see at the different ceremonies for Buddha Day, people wearing white. So I was wondering what the significance is.
Well, that's a traditional, it's, if you see in Buddhist countries, in Theravadan countries, I don't know if they do it in the Tibetan tradition, but when the people come to the temple on the new moon and the full moon, they typically will wear white to the temple, and they just spend the day. They listen to talks, and they maybe they help out doing stuff at the temple, but they wear white as just a traditional color, and it represents purity, and so that's their tradition and their culture. So when we have the precept ceremony, we encourage people to wear white, and it's not a deal breaker, but it's more a tradition. So it makes it a little. It's a symbolic thing. I don't think the Buddha started it at all. I think that's a good question, though. And you'll see some people who have come to the temple for a long time. They might, but at a lot of different occasions, they might have a white, the white top and a white bottom, or the men usually wear khaki-colored pants. But a lot of people will wear that when we have any kind of ceremony here at the temple. It's like they have their special event outfit. You don't have to think about what you're going to wear. Uh-huh.
I have a question regarding Buddhism. I didn't probably don't know the answer, but it seems like there's quite a few different branches of Buddhism. Are the fundamental beliefs the same, or are there any
I think the fundamental beliefs are the same. The Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, that's the same in all of them. I mean, that's really the core. And then I think from there, our tradition, the Theravadan tradition, we really focus on the early teachings, which were the teachings of Sakyamuni Buddha. So that's our canon. That's our main body of teachings. And then in different traditions, they might add other teachers onto that. In the Mahayana tradition, they may, in the Tibetan tradition, they'll add other enlightened teachers into their canon. And they may have a different structure, but their monastic structure may be different. Yeah, but the real gut of it is the same. Uh-huh.
I'm not very knowledgeable, so I'm sorry if I'm ignorant. But my understanding is like the Eightfold Path is to get rid of suffering. Is that correct?
Right.
My question is, if the primary goal is to get rid of suffering, why should one choose to follow the Eightfold Path over suicide? If suicide is a much more effective and quicker way to do it, if the primary goal is to just not suffer.
Well, part of the Eightfold Path talks about the way what we call sila. It's our morality and our ethics, and so the very first precept we take is to not kill anything. And it's basically doing no harm to ourselves or to others. So that's included in that Eightfold Path. And so suicide, we believe, is harming ourselves. And it doesn't end suffering, because our belief is also that we have rebirth. So if we decide, our suffering is great, so it's somebody's right. I mean, we aren't going to put you in Buddhist jail, or, it's not, because everything is kind of cause and effect. But if someone ends their life, it doesn't end the cause and effect situation. So that action will just come up in another lifetime. So it's better to work with this life. A human life is very precious. And so this is the lifetime. This lifetime you're in is the most important one, because it's the one that is right now. And so this is the life that we want to do the very best we can with our life, working with the conditions that we have. And we want to live it as consciously as we can to the natural end of our life, because that will create less of what we call, it's less negative action that we're producing, so we don't have to deal with the effects of it in another life. Does that make sense? I mean, it's also kind of a nihilistic way of, and the Buddha said that's an extreme, like that's an extreme position. Like if there's nothing, if there's no continuation of anything, it doesn't matter, right? And he also said he didn't believe in extremes. And at the time he was living, there were all these kind of extremes in the different spiritual teachings. And the Buddha always said, that's not where the answer is. Like, it's always what we're looking for is that balance in the middle. And so the extreme of there's nothing, so it doesn't matter if I kill myself or kill you, that extreme, he said, we don't want that. And we don't want the other that talks about kind of rewards in heaven and, that kind of thing. We don't want it to be too much to that extreme. So the middle path is more about doing no harm and working with this life right now, doing everything we can to, we talk a lot in our teachings about the best way to die is to be very conscious and for it to be, and that doesn't mean, most people end up dying in a hospital. I don't know I think that's statistically correct. I'm not sure in this country. But, so we don't know the conditions of that moment of death. But what we always that we want to create in our lives is to have a very peaceful death. And if that means being surrounded with people chanting, or maybe just quiet, or people just being with us and not a lot of noise going on, but a peaceful death is preferred because it makes it easier for us to not feel confused and lost when we die. So it's easier for us to kind of go in the right direction. So that's one of the ways we think about death. So if suicide would be a really violent way to die, and it wouldn't be a good thing for the next life. So. Well, see, that was a bummer. Now you got everybody. Everybody's thinking about that.
I think that was a good response to that, though.
And everybody has to answer that for themselves. So what I'm saying doesn't necessarily represent what somebody else would say about it, but that's looking at what the Buddha was teaching. He was definitely not a fan of suicide. Now, the question we will not allow anybody to ask tonight is, what about animals, putting animals to sleep? It's easy to talk about our own death, right? Compared to what we should do about our pets. So we don't need to talk about that. But that's a very interesting topic too, and that one is controversial as far as I'm concerned. But everybody, including animals, have karma. So, it's usually we want to live out whatever life we have, because that's the best way for us to work through as much of our karma as we can in this lifetime. And eventually, and that karma is, eventually that's what enlightenment would be, when their parinibbana is when they've worked through all that cause and effect stuff right till the very last point. And then they can choose to stay living, or they can choose to just kind of, I guess, do whatever you do when you become enlightened. Like the Buddha became enlightened when he was 36, but then he taught for another 45 years. So he could have decided that when he became enlightened that he just wanted to sit around and enjoy that feeling. But he was asked, there are these wonderful stories. He was asked, even by the gods and the devas that are like the little gods, they asked him to teach. He was thinking he could just go off to sit in a cave or something and enjoy being enlightened. But he was asked to teach by them because they said, we're not enlightened. We still need teaching, and we want to come down and listen to you teach. So then that's why we have what is called Parinibbana, which is the final, like that enlightened person's death. So, and
suicide is meditation and being hooked up to a machine. And it's interesting how in society people want to live as long as they can. They'll do whatever they can to live as long as they can. So it's like, it's one of those things in life where, I don't know what the Buddhist view is on that, but you explained with suicide. But so, what's the Buddhist view? Like, it's like, okay, I need to live on a machine that's making me breathe, and I have all these wires hooked up. Is that against the Buddhism philosophy, or is that for it?
I don't think it's against it. I mean, that's a personal choice. But if there's no one who would say, don't, if you go to a hospital, no one would ever say, I don't think any Buddhist would say, or teacher would say, no, you can't have any life-sustaining help in a hospital. I think that's just a personal choice.
It's kind of like, you had to bring it up with the suicide, and you brought up the pets.
Yeah, that's what I said, don't.
Like, say I had a heart attack when I was 30 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What would be to me, it's almost like if that happened, I would think I would not want to take medication and die. You can live this life out and then move on to the next. As opposed to the average person would be like, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack, let's go to the hospital, let's have surgery, let's take medication for 50 years, etc. And you don't really know until you're in that spot, but in the society we live in, everybody's take all the medication, and to me, I almost think that you'd be better off just to die of natural causes and not take medication.
I think that would really be your personal choice.
But wouldn't that be what frame of mind you'd have at that time?
You mean what? Just
frame of mind, like if life is not worth living for, or I know a lot to live for. This is just a condition at this time.
Yeah, I think your intention at that point would be important. So if your intention was I want to die, that might be that would probably not be such a good thing. But
I think the intention would be it's time to move on to the next step in a positive way, or the next stage of spiritual growth.
Yeah, I'd have to. Yeah, go ahead.
What about your obligation with the people?
Well, we don't really have an obligation to other people. We have an obligation to our families and, the people that we've made commitments to. But
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So
Family,
I have a question about that. Just because, you mentioned reincarnation and
rebirth.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's hard.
that's okay.
But and I'm not sure exactly the layout of what that implies. My assumption would just be that I have previous life before this one. Would that be correct?
Mm-hmm.
In that previous life, if I had loved ones, people that I care about, and good or bad life, whatever it was, it doesn't seem to affect me now. I don't love those people anymore. Whatever pain or joy that I had doesn't seem to affect me now. So, again, why should I care about other lives?
Why should you care about what?
Other lives, future lives.
Well,
If my experience here now is not going to affect others' experiences later on, and my experience that I have now will not remember, just like I don't remember the past ones, this one that I'm having now will be remember the future ones. So why should there be a caring for, like, to me that seems like a stranger. Whatever future I have seems like a stranger, so why should I care?
Well, we don't care about that. Yeah, we aren't going to be, it's like we don't take our personality with us into another life. But what we're trying to do is to rid ourselves of all of the desires and attachments and passions that keep us wanting to have another life. Like just even that desire to become, like to keep living, which kind of ties in with the medical thing. That's something, that's what the Buddha talked, that's what we're trying to lessen our grip on. So we don't feel like, oh, I just want to, live forever, or I want to keep on. Yeah, we're letting go of that.
So, I have a personal perspective. I'm a hospice nurse. Comment here. I think what initially drew me to Buddhism is the fact that you're doing the best you can with what you have right now. I cannot say what I'm going to do in the future if I have a heart attack tomorrow.
Right.
I cannot say what other past lives did for me and changed me to who I am now. But I know where I am right now, what I'm experiencing right now, and I'm going to do the best I can with what I have right now. And that's it. And nothing else is for me to know. I don't know what happened before, and I don't need to know what's going to happen in the future.
Right.
How can I be kind, and how can I do the best I can right now?
And I think that even those decisions that we might make in the future, we don't know what that decision might be. And a lot of times we don't have much choice in the decision. If we don't necessarily get to be involved in that decision. Is my life going to be saved, or am I going to, just die right now? But that's okay. I think what you're saying is exactly right. What we're looking at is right now in this moment. And so for the people we love, that means right now, the people I love, my family, the people that I'm with, I want to be the best friend, the best mother, a noble friend, the best employee that I can be. That's part of the Eightfold Path. But that's for right now. It doesn't mean that that's going to be what we are next week. Yeah.
But you do know what you're going to do if you get a heart attack. You're going to want to go in the hospital and probably get surgery. That's what everybody is going to do. But nobody's going to sit there and go, I don't want to go to the hospital and die right here. Everybody's into the hospice. My dad was just on hospice and passed away, and it's just like, it's a good thing, but you kind of have a point, you get no choice. But it's like everybody does the same thing when you get a heart attack. They can go to the hospital, except for the rare, probably less than 0.01%.
We're not perfect.
No, I'm not saying there's anything
that
wrong.
desire, that will to live hops in, and you do whatever you do, and you move on from there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
What you said, I think is very, very true. I just kind of go back to my question as to why you contend with life in the first place. If we do whatever we can now, better, this is great. But to me, it seems like a lot of those relationships are difficult and have a lot of pain and suffering.
Sure, but there's joy too.
Yeah, but to me, at the end of the day, it's like, what's the point of either one? Like, if you have the best dream or the worst nightmare when you wake up and you don't remember, it doesn't matter if it happened in the first place. And to me, it doesn't. And so, like, to me, the question is like, okay, if, like, previous lives and past lives, and there's no connection of me, why should I care about it? And
Why shouldn't you?
because it's like a stranger, why should I care about a stranger?
A life is a life is a life. So
Sure.
if you get to choose one side or the other, why not choose joy? Why
Because it
not
comes with
choose
suffering.
there?
Because it comes with suffering.
But not being here comes with suffering too. You're just passing on the suffering to those around you.
Sure. Well, if I don't exist, if I didn't exist, I wouldn't go.
Yeah, if we didn't exist, it's the
But in
If it stops existing, then I also come across and harm.
Well, yeah, but if you exist and then you stop existing, you're going to affect those around you. You're going to pass it on. It'll affect me when you weren't here. It may not affect me intimately or deeply, but I will affect it.
Dylan?
So I'm not 100% on the teaching of rebirth. I came across one old Buddhist manuscript that very loudly stated in big bold letters that rebirth is not transmigration, which refers to I think reincarnation. The soul.
Right.
You're talking about how there's something solid from body to body, and from what I read, it seemed to say that is not really the case, and I don't know if that's accurate or true to Buddhist philosophy or reality. That's how I kind of function. So I kind of asked the question, your question, I really like it. If you want to end your suffering, why go through the long life of potentially Buddhist practice?
All life is essentially suffering. So the point is to rid rid of suffering and then rid together with life.
See, so I think the issue may be in that initial premise that life itself is necessarily connected to suffering. Pain, yes. My back hurt all night. And that's what I've seen a lot of pain. But through and I think there's noting that the definition difference between pain and suffering is probably going to highlight a good portion of what we're talking about. We can't avoid pain. We all have to die. I'm proud of that. Cancer is and I'll be in pain, but unlike some of the other family members of mine, I don't have to suffer in addition to it. There's ways of conducting mind and body, even cancer in mind and body, that allows it to pass with as much ease as possible. And even if it's not passing into a next life, so specifically with the suicide one, there's a cumulative wave-like effect, I think, to any suicide, even if it's not connected to any life activity. Like you said, you probably won't have access to it. Past life, and I think there's just really real direct evidence. I mean, if you're in a family, your absence suddenly is shockwaves outward. Even if you're not in a family, if you have friends, shockwave outward. It can challenge me and say what if I'm a hermit and I die alone and I lay on the ground and the worms get food because those worms are probably happier. They probably are going to be enjoying that, and that's where maybe it gets a little bit challenging for me to respond. Once you remove yourself entirely from the world, but you certainly have no positive cumulative effect, or you can't be any of these things anymore. In the back of the book, My Wish. Of course, you're not necessarily obligated to do any of these things, but you no longer can do them even indirectly, like being a source of peace. You become a null effect at best. You're not experiencing anything. If the goal is cessation of experience, then yes, suicide. Cessation of suffering, I think you can finish suffering while continuing experience, if that's what you want. But I've used so much of time.
Well, it's a good discussion, but we do have to, we're already 15 minutes past time, so I know people have to go, but really good questions. And we talked a little bit about Buddha Day too, so we got both. They're wonderful questions. It's good to have a chance just to talk about some of that, because a lot of things the Buddha didn't directly talk about. There are a lot of things that, we have to. This is not like we can pray to somebody and get automatic answers. So that's the hard part about Buddhism, but it's also the most liberating part. We have to find those reasons where we find joy in life, and we have to find how we can be happy in the midst of a crazy world full of chaos. And those are why we're here. That's why we're in this human body, is to experience and to learn and to develop ourselves as much as we can. That's our opportunity. And but these are good questions, because ultimately we all have to ask these questions. Nobody's going to come and tell us, you're right or you're wrong, or if you do it this way, this is what's going to happen. And we don't know. We don't know that. So it's good to talk about it. And it's good to challenge our own minds, like where we are. But remember, everything's impermanent and changes. So what we think today may not be what we think a year from now or tomorrow. And that's okay too, because we're constantly changing. We have different input. We have different experiences, and we keep changing, which is good. So then it's good not to get locked into a certain point of view. And that's what is good. One of the things about Buddhism that I really like you're not stuck with a bunch of dogma that you've got to make up, pretend that you believe in. It's okay to disagree with stuff, and it's okay to have a different opinion about it. And that's I think really good. So thank you very much for your lessons.